to get an idea of what Srila Prabhupada's vision for the Sastric degrees is, we can read this statement. I want that all of my spiritual sons and daughters will inherit this title of Bhaktivedanta, so that the family transcendental diploma will continue through the generations. Those possessing the title of Bhaktivedanta will be allowed to initiate disciples. Maybe by 1975, all of my disciples will be allowed to initiate and increase the numbers of the generations. That is my program. So, looking at this statement, Prabhupada is he's associating the Bhaktivedanta degree with initiating being initiating guru. And he's also indicating that he's wanting all of his disciples to be allowed to initiate by 1975, means that they're Bhaktivedanta. That's the vision that Prabhupada had in 1969, that all of his disciples would have got a Bhaktivedanta degree by 1975. So let's have a look actually at the actual statistics of devotees in the movement up to this date. These figures are taken from the 50th anniversary report that we had. 50th anniversary report. So these are the figures. Maybe I'm better here actually. So if you take the whole of ISKCON as around about, we hear the figure of 100,000 initiated devotees. That's the approximate figure that was given in the 50th anniversary report, about 100,000 initiated devotees. So out of that, we have around about 9,000 devotees, they're here, that have done Bhakti Shastri. So actually that's quite an achievement, actually, 9,000 devotees. And to carry on, Bhakti VIPLAVAH, we have around about 375, maybe a little more now, a little more, maybe, because these are figures from last year, so around about 400 or so devotees. So out of that's there. That out of 100,000, that's 0.03 or 0.3 or 0.4%. Bhakti, if we're looking at 100,000 initiated devotees, then we haven't got 1% with Bhakti VIPLAVAH degrees. And there's no statistical evidence of the existence of Bhaktivedanta or Bhakti Sarvabhauma. There's no statistical evidence of their existence. We have, for the Bhaktivedanta graduates, last year we graduated 10-15 devotees, but so that doesn't, in 100,000, that doesn't show. And also the centers. So this is just a number of degrees that we have statistically. And in terms of centers that we're providing, wherein we provide if you were to consider 100% of the centers, and once again we're drawing on the figure that was given in the 50th anniversary report, where it mentions around about 750, including temples and people, something that's got the name ISKCON, people affiliate with it, like a preaching center, even Namhata centers, like 750. So out of those, there are around about 70 centers where you can get Bhakti Shastri. And there are 10 centers that are functioning, that are running a Bhakti VIPLAVAH program. So that means that, you know, in terms of the probability when you come to the movement, that it's unlikely at the moment that you'll get accessibility to the degree program. That's kind of statistically where we're standing. Now to look at we'll keep that one there for a while. To look at the, interesting again to note, when we look further, when we look closer at the figures, that figure of 9,000 graduates, actually that looks that looks quite good. How many Bhakti Shastri graduates here? I'm hoping we'll get 100%. you know, in a symposium like this. Yeah, so it's good, very healthy, at least 80%. Now, what's interesting is that more than half of the Bhakti Shastri degrees that have been in ISKCON have been awarded from 2 centers. More than half are coming from 2 centers. The most are from Mayapur Institute. Last night we were in the Mayapur Institute closing ceremony. 150 graduates last night. So more than 5,000 graduates. There's more than half. Sorry, more than 3,000, 3,500 graduates from the Mayapur Institute, and a couple of thousand from Chalpati. So those 2 temples actually are taking you could say the credit goes to those 2 centers for the whole of the movement, and that's why the rest of it's not available. So firstly, we like to, at this point, the Board of Examiners, and speaking in front of such eminent educationists and Brahmins in the movement, that we publicly want to give credit to the work of the Mayapur Institute in terms of actually achieving such a wonderful program. In Mayapur, Panchanga Bhakti, Sadhu Shanga Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shrabon, Maturava Sri Mutira Shradaya, Shebon, Shokal Shadan Shresto E Pachanga. Of all the items you can do, residing in the Dham, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, E Pache Alpa Shanga Krishna Prem Janmaya. These are so powerful that even a little of them can awaken Krishna Prem. So this project in Mayapur is such a success for the Ministry of Education, actually. The effect that this is having on Mayapur project and on ISKCON worldwide. So that's wonderful. We want to keep that going. But what we want to look at is improving in this area. Improving in this area and having a look at, what we're doing, actually what we're doing wrong, that can help us, sustain this and then improve in this area. So it was interesting during the ILS presentation, when I was presenting these topics, I was drawing points from the leaders about the obstacles that they face in setting up the degree programs in their various centers. And the 3 main topics, the 3 main points that came up were we don't have the teachers, and we don't have the time. And the third one was that, we don't really know about it anyway. It's kind of mysterious. We don't know, how do you become a Bhakti Shastri center? How do you become where do the degrees come from? It's not easy to find out about. And, to become a teacher currently, because the current system that we require is that, of course, teacher training is so important, and that's also a responsibility of the ministry to provide teacher training. Now, if we're requiring a standard of teacher training for a certain eligibility to teach, the ministry has to ensure that training is easily available. Currently, it's not. The teacher training program that is compulsory for you to become a teacher, that teacher training program is hard to find and mostly available in India. Not available in a few other places where we invested in teacher training. The degree programs like Melbourne, the degree programs are very successful. But so many places that you can't find a teacher. And also you're required to take a Bhakti Shastri course to become a teacher. And the Bhakti Shastri course is not available. Apart from, as we mentioned, mostly you have to come to India. So the system that we had actually was requiring for a person to become a Bhakti Shastri teacher that they actually require 6 months of free time to, first of all, take Bhakti Shastri, and that may mean not in their local area available, so perhaps come to India, take the Bhakti Shastri, and then take teacher training, so a 6-month investment to become a teacher. Now, on the Board of Examinations, we've been discussing over the last 18 months, and we felt that actually there would be a huge number of devotees in our movement who are qualified to teach Shastra, who, in terms of their spiritual standing, in terms of their basic capacity to teach, also as a preacher, as a leader. Devotees are generally quite communicative. And in terms of their desire, a very strong desire to actually regularly teach Prabhupada's books. And many of those people may not have 6 months of free time available. And we felt that making that component, that quality as well, that also you need 6 months of free time available, we thought that was unstrategic way of setting up this program. Because so many people who don't have 6 months available can be very qualified and very capable Sastric teachers. So we're not taking advantage of those people. So let's see what we came up with in order to address this situation and try to get some improvement here. Now, this is another interesting statement that Srila Prabhupada made again in 1969. With these examinations, I wish to encourage all my disciples to very carefully learn the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, because there is so many preachers who will be required to bring the message to all newcomers, to all corners of the earth. So yes, to produce preachers, and preachers are produced on the basis of this statement by Srila Prabhupada as a result of regularly studying his books and learning the philosophy which is in his books. So therefore, Prabhupada said that we can, from this statement we can actually understand what is the purpose of the degree program. Because as we've been hearing from our colleagues and inspired leaders of the Generate Interest in Reading Srila Prabhupada's Books Committee, that it's a problem that devotees have. Once you get reasonably fixed up in philosophy, unless you have a specific reason, you don't regularly read. It's a rare soul that just every day reads because it's my duty. With those of us who are teaching Shastra, we manage to keep it going because we prepare for classes and that keeps you rolling. But just that soul that just I read because we have to read an hour a day, every devotees read. It's a rare soul that actually does that. And from this statement it appears that Prabhupada also suspected such a circumstance may eventuate. Therefore he said to encourage my disciples to learn the philosophy, to read the books. To encourage them to read the books. Because if I can, in addition to, I have to root out a duty, but if on the way I can get some encouragement to get a degree, then that will encourage me to read, to regularly read, just for that purpose. And that was Prabhupada's idea. The devotees, by 1975, if he wanted all of his disciples to have Bhakti Vedanta, that means that through your regular reading, you're gradually getting the different degrees. Therefore, in his comments, he mentions time and time again examinations. Examinations. This was the actual system that Srila Prabhupada envisioned. And actually, he uses the term Bhakti Shastra examinations and exams. And he uses that more than 50 times in his discussion on the degree topic, examinations. And in 1996, actually, the GBC, they... Is this too loud? Wow. Sorry. Just turn down the gears a little here. Thanks for that body language, but if you hadn't done that, I would have just, completely turned everybody off for the next half an hour. Wow. So anyway, actually the original mandate of this committee was to, it's because there's no speaker on the stage. You can't hear yourself, right? The mandate of this committee was to actually write the examinations. And so we felt that, seeing that Prabhupada did actually envision this method, that there could be centralized examinations and devotees who are regularly reading can become eligible to take those exams, and therefore that will inspire them, motivate them to keep regularly reading, and when they're ready, take the exams. Then the Board of Examiners has taken the step to actually fulfill this aspect of Prabhupada's mission and work on a centralized assessment program, as he's mentioning, Prabhupada here, to encourage. So now, we have resources that the IT revolution have had to actually make it very easy for devotees to, in all different types of circumstances, regularly read Prabhupada's books and go through the standard assessment that is prepared. They can read on their own, or as I feel like it feels like an Indian wedding here. I just met the girl. I'm going to spend my whole life with her. These two groups. We're designed for each other. As Tapan Mishra Prabhu said that, little Tapan Mishra Prabhu said, smaller clubs, reading clubs. Smaller reading clubs. To make it easy. Get together a few devotees, start reading, and then when you're ready, you can sit exams. So this is what we're working on. We've developed a study and teach program to basically empower that enthusiastic devotee, that preacher or that leader, to begin teaching Bhakti Shastri, and at the same time he can also take his assessment. So we're preparing an online teacher training program, something reasonably fundamental that will orientate the students on how to function, on how to run the program, how to do assessment if they've got a group of students with them, how to do the assessment, how to organize the classes, etc. That type of training will be there. Basic communication skills, all the things that you could expect, as much as we can get online. And also we can have the option that students can upload a presentation that they do, and that can be assessed. So although an in-campus teacher training course is obviously more effective, and that also the ministry will continue to develop and provide, but for those who don't have their luxury to be able to spend months taking that training, we have to provide something. And this we feel will be sufficient to actually empower them to begin teaching Prabhupada's books. So we're working on the assessment questions. Currently we are about half of the way through the Bhakti Shastri questions and slightly less than a third of the way through the Bhakti VIPLAVAH questions. And we got a team of around 20 teachers who are helping us develop those questions. And also we'll have the system, as Prabhupada mentioned, and we were discussing last night at the Mayapur Institute closing ceremony, the Prabhupada mentioned about closed book assessment. Originally Prabhupada mentioned there'll be closed book tests, and those who quote verses will get more marks. So actually we felt that Prabhupada specifically mentioning this type of assessment, we felt that we should encourage this alignment with the words of the founder Acharya. So we're introducing closed book assessment. So if you're taking the course with a few students, you're a temple president, you've got your leaders, your management committee, you're studying the Shastra with them, or a preacher, or a Bhakti Briksha leader, a Namhata, or a student preacher, you can start teaching the Bhakti Shastri with a small team of people, and the tests will be sent out, and you can take them locally under local invigilation. All of this can be managed and can have a tremendous effect on encouraging people to regularly read Prabhupada's books. So we encourage you to keep in touch with us, and we'll update you on these developments, and particularly if you're feeling inspired, this is a great opportunity. We will at this stage share with you the work that we're doing on developing the assessment questions, because we feel that the more devotees we have contributing to this project, the more effective it will be. And of course, this is not a one-time thing. Once a foundational bank of questions has been established and is functioning, can always be added onto, can always be modified. And we're looking at increasing the size of the Board of Examinations membership and inviting more Brahmins and Vaishnava scholars to participate in an active way. Actually, just consider the opportunity for those of us who are inspired about education, that these questions that we develop over the next 6 months, 12 months, these are going to become the foundational guidelines of the learning of thousands and thousands of devotees who will read Srila Prabhupada's books for decades to come. By these assessment questions, we'll be shaping their learning. We'll be developing the type of ideal follower of Srila Prabhupada that we envision by developing very thorough assessment and ensuring that they achieve it. And in this way, having a tremendous effect through Brahminical potency and Brahminical influence on the members of this movement and the effectiveness of this movement to spread all over the world. And I feel that this opportunity is something that Krishna has sent to this, right now, to this whole ministry, to actually take this opportunity and in such a direct way have a major influence on the spiritual growth of this movement through the Brahminical process, through hearing and chanting and guiding that. And also we've prepared a Srila Prabhupada introductory course, and the design of that course will also make available to you, and we appreciate your comments on that. So you can contact us through the ministry or through myself personally. I can put that address back if you'd like to contact me personally, and we'll keep you updated on all the developments, and also we'll encourage you and facilitate your further involvement if you'd like to get involved in helping with the assessment questions.
Hare Krishna. I don't really have a question, just more of a short anecdote to show the power of Prabhupada's books, at least were in my life. Our first 5 years of getting into Krishna consciousness were only from Prabhupada's books. We never went to a temple, never met any devotee. I just had contacted a devotee online about a question not related to Krishna consciousness at all. It was related to music, and he had asked me if I had read Bhagavad Gita and said no, and he pointed me to it, and I read that, and then I read every single book that he wrote or translated, and read them several times. And the first temple that we ever went to was actually in India, in Mumbai. So I think that's at least an example in my life of the power of Prabhupada's books. And to finish that, I would like to say that when I arrived in India, I met so many devotees that had Prabhupada's books in their houses. And when I asked them about reading them, they had never even opened them. It really surprised me because they were so influential in my life, and I was surprised that they were devotees. And
thank you, Prabhu. Well, we'll take a few other questions. So you feel that Srila Prabhupada's books is very powerful, and you feel that that program is going to encourage the furthering of that. Thank you. Yes, Maharaj?
Okay. We're in New York City, and we've started a fledgling Bhakti Shastri class there. Padmanayana gave the first session about a year ago. And then I gave 2 sessions after that. And I'm just noticing some of the issues that we're coming across, you know. One of the things that we ran up on right away is the idea of time, that in a center, generally people are working. At least the congregation that we have is mostly working. We're not giving it so much to brahmacharis, brahmacharinis. We're giving it to people who are part of the congregation. So 20 hours, 30 hours worth of a unit is mapped out over a month at 5-hour sessions on a Sunday, because we can't do Saturdays and Sundays. No one can come during the week. So you see how our time has to be mapped out. So these are some of our issues. With the IDC, we run into the language issue too, with the having to actually work with English, Spanish, Russian, and Bengali. So I've managed to get a hold of the questions and answers in the books in all those languages, but there is no, you know, that's another issue that we're dealing with. So I'm just giving you what it's like to be running a Bhakti Shastri course, an IDC course in a temple like New York.
Thank you, Maharaj. Particularly, and that's Bhakti Shastri. Now you can imagine the, you know, how the congregation is going to feel when they, if we're simply thinking about duration rather than as examinations, then no one's going to have the time. Because, and Prabhupada never mentions anything about courses and durations in his actual discussion on the 4 degrees at all, except for once when he talks about the outline of a course that you can show the draft board of a 7-year. That's the only time he mentions any sort of like concept of a duration. All he specifically mentions is set examinations. So that's what we felt, that it looks, you know, the figures look reasonable for the Bhakti Shastri, but once you get into the large content, then people just are not going to, and such capable preachers and enthusiastic people, they're not going to get the degrees because they don't have the time. What little reading they do, that should be credited to their getting a degree. So therefore, set valuable and effective examinations, and then let people come, and when they're ready, take those examinations. Another point that Prabhupada makes is that regularly he says, Bhakti Vedanta is not cantos 7 to 12. Bhakti Vedanta is cantos 1 to 12. It's actually Bhakti Shastri books and cantos 1 to 12. He says that at least 4 or 5 times. When you get Bhakti Vedanta, you have to do all the other previous ones. Now, even in our campuses where we're teaching the full programs, no one is doing that. You know, just to get the content that's then to go back, and no one is doing it. We're just kind of pretend that Prabhupada didn't say that. But actually, with a system like this, the questions that you've previously been assessed on, they could randomly be given again at any time. And the student has to prepare for, when they come for the Bhaktivedanta or the Bhakti Vaibhav test, they have to prepare all of their Bhakti Shastri learning again. And you can put in any Bhakti Shastri questions. That's what Prabhupada said. That would be a very effective way of getting people to read very thoroughly. Just the existence of the assessment. And that's why we're encouraging you to get involved, because the assessment has to be really good, really well thought out, really clear, and assessing the things that we want the students to learn. Prana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, Atul Prabhu, are you saying that we'll be deregulating teachers? Like you said that we won't have
Okay, that's a good point. Well, there will be some, regulation that we're giving that training. For those who don't have any training, at least we'll provide some online training.
But currently you have to have a TTC1,
yeah, so
TTC2,
that won't be there, because that course is not
TTC4.
available. Those courses are not available sufficiently to make that compulsory.
Okay.
Yes, that program has to be encouraged, that program has to be maintained, but it can't be made compulsory because it's not available everywhere. So, optional.
Okay.
But you can't make it compulsory if it's not available everywhere.
So
That program has to be encouraged and improved. And also the scope that we have here is because we're so way off the charts that people are. I'm surprised that it took us so long for people to even notice this. We're so way off the charts that if we don't actually get this set up now, if we don't get in this first generation, it'll just be lost. No one would think it was ever possible. I think this is, we should, and then for a period of a decade or so, we have to be more encouraging to get teachers all over the globe and the courses all going at that time when it's easily available, and teacher training can be more easily available. Then we can increase the standard of the qualifications. But at this stage, that's not the best strategy. It's just a little seed, and we have to at least bring it up to a reasonable existence in the movement, and then we can start pruning it.
With your permission, I just wanted to add one small point, which is, Prana Prabhu, the intention is that whatever methodology that we can integrate in our online teachers training programs, we are going to do that. So it's not that we're not going to regulate. The modules, the pedagogy for the teachers training is going to be provided online, and they can go through certain credits and then if they go through certain credits, they're TTC1, they go through more TTC2, if they go through the whole thing, they're qualified as full teachers. So we're still working on that. So we're not deregulating it completely, but we're making it widely available. And to ensure that we maintain some quality, that's something that we're working on. So I just want to make that point. We're not trying to deregulate it completely in that regard.
Thank you, Tapanishpur. And one other question, a quick one, is who will mark the examinations? Will that be up to the local? How will you moderate?
Well, say you're taking this project, the teach and study, or study and teach project. You'll take teacher training and you'll get equipped how to mark papers. Well, that'll be the fundamental compulsory training in that. That can be given online, how to mark papers, and they can submit marked papers. They can send in marked papers. So the teacher, potential teacher, we can send a paper for them to mark. They can mark it, send it back to us. We can evaluate their assessment competency. Train up the local teacher. I think we're finishing. Yes.
Yeah. Yep, we have a question here.
Pancharatna Prabhu.
Have you considered turning the questions into sort of a catechism for ISKCON members, where if you're familiar with the Catholic Catechism or any of these other
it could be used
religions.
for, it could be, it's all open source. These questions will be available on the Ministry of Educational website. Anyone can view those. Anyone can view those questions. Anyone can view those for their own private study. Let me ask a question to conclude. If a system like that had have been functioning when you joined the movement, you could do your reading and when ready, come and take an assessment. How many people here in this room feel that they would have Bhakti Vedanta or Bhakti Sarvabhauma by now? Raise your hands. Okay, that's about 2/3. Yeah, so this system actually will contribute towards achieving Prabhupada's vision of making the degrees a meaningful aspect of his movement. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.